Let's make a Hexagon Crossbody Bag. This is a fun and funky crossbody bag. It's actually pretty generous in size. We'll have a clever little pocket in there if you want to add that in. It's got a nice little braided handle here, this strap with a 1/2-inch swivel hook. And so I'm going to have a video link for you how to make that. But you can actually make these loom knit hexagons, or you can make a crochet or a needle knit hexagon any way you like. These are about 6.5 inches wide when measured from these points here, these nice straight edges, not the longer points, but 6.5 here on here. And then the bottom edge of your bag is going to hang down with these dramatic little triangles at the bottom. You could add fringe if you want to make it more boho, or leave it alone. And we're going to sew this whole thing together. It's very easy to stitch together. I'm going to show you the assembly and stitching, and I'd love for you to join us today. Be sure and grab your materials and get those patterns down below. Welcome to GoodKnit Kisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches. So we're going to have a right and a left-handed tutorial, so go click down in the video description below for the link to that, as well as the entire pattern, which includes the hexagons and the straps, and links to those videos down in the blog link. So go to the video description, click on that blog link and go there. From there you can get a pattern that's ad-free on our website if you'd like to download that, or we've got our Ravelry and Etsy stores. So once you make and stitch in all of your tails, weave in all your tails, make 15 of these hexagons, and make your strap, which is basically 3 I-cords, and then they're stitched and woven together. And then you're going to add in one of these. I've got this set that I got from Walmart, and it's a 1/2-inch swivel hook. So you're just going to stitch that on there. So once you've got these components, you are ready to assemble your bag. Now I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of stitch markers. I've got a little pair of scissors here and a needle. You'll probably want to use one of these. I'm going to use this blue one here because I'm going to actually assemble mine. These are all the ones I have and don't want to assemble in another color for you. So hopefully with my needle, you'll be able to tell where I'm stitching, because I'm going to be using this darker yarn, because this is the bag I wanted to make for myself. So we're going to begin, but you make sure and you have at least about 20 of these stitch markers, just locking ones. You might need more or less. This is just to hold things in place so that you can get your bag kind of in a form that looks like a bag, and then we'll start all of our stitching together. All right, so grab those things and we'll begin. So we're going to start by laying out our hexagons. That's step 1, and I cannot fit all this onto my camera, so bear with me while we look at a layout on a larger big white paper. So I do have these numbered, really kind of funny, but once we fold this in half, the numbers make a little bit more sense. So at the top you have 2 top hexagons in the very middle, and we're naming the first one 15 and the second one 1. And then we have our next row, which has 7 hexagons, and they're numbered 14, 13, 12, and then our numbers start 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2 is actually going to be the very center, and that's where we fold. That's the only fold in this bag. And then on the bottom, if you start kind of where the 5 was and work your way down, you can start at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, kind of in reverse of what you'd normally write from left to right. So that's how those are numbered. So kind of make a note or look at the pattern down in the link in the video description below. So we've got that all laid out, and once we do that, now we're going to join together with our stitch markers. So we're going to be attaching those. So step 2, we're going to be seaming, and we're going to show you that here in just a moment. So make sure you get everything all linked together, and I'm going to show you a couple of these linked up, what it looks like when I just kind of laid a few stitch markers on. I probably got about 20 or so, but you could probably put even more together. And when we fold this up, you're going to need maybe a few more to clip them or rearrange how you have things clipped together. And all right, so go ahead and do that. Pause your video, and I will meet you back up when we fold it in half. All right, so now we're folding it in half, and it kind of looks like a boot or a shoe or something like that. It looks a little different, but once you get this all put together and get the strap on and put it on your body, it makes a whole lot more sense. And it's actually pretty comfortable to wear. So we're just gonna fold that up in half, and let's show you what mine looks like. So I've got mine here, And you can see here's the inside, and I've folded it over, and we've got doubled up on all of our hexagons except for this one. It's at our fold area, and it's just one, and we're going to be seaming together all of the ones on the inside, these on the very front. So this is the front here, and then the back, those are going to be seamed together. But then we're going to be sewing the perimeter or the outside together, and that is a front and a back hexagon. All right, so let's begin. We're going to actually start, gonna come over here to this very last one. This is number 5 on the front, and we're gonna start at this very top corner, and we're going to be seaming together the top hexagon, the front hexagon, and the back hexagon, and working along this straight line here. So we're going to be starting here and going down to this point, and then down to this next point, and then down here. So you're doing half of this one, stitching them together, and then we're going to work our way down to hexagon number 6, where 5 and 6 come together, and go straight down and work our way all the way around the perimeter. And you can see that we're just going to keep going along this edge here all the way down. And I'm just going to show you this first before we start seaming it together, so you can see kind of an overview. So we're going to go zigzag down here, so you have 3 bottom hexagons, and then we're going to go up the side, and then we get to this part that's folded. Okay, so then we're going to stop stitching the front and the back one together, and then we're actually going to stitch just the 2 front ones together. So this is hexagon number 2 that's folded, and number 8 that's flat here. So we're going to stitch from 2 and 8 all the way over to where it joins up with hexagon 3, and then we're still going to be stitching all the way up this straight edge here to where all these come together. This is hexagon 1, 2, and 3 right here. So these are going to be joined up, and we're only working on the front hexagon and then stitching these together. And now we're going to switch up at this point, and we're going to stitch all the way up, stitching hexagon 1 and 15 that's behind it, the front and back, on this edge, and then the top, and then over to the side. So basically how we did on the other end here, and we're going to be leaving this part here open. Eventually, if you want to, eventually we're going to end up making this one a pocket, and we have to do that very, very last, but we're going to sew all the other seams together first, so you can make that decision if you want it to be a pocket. But overall, the open part to get access into the bag are going to be these edges here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are going to be where the opening are, and then here will be an additional pocket. Okay, all right, so go ahead and grab your yarn that matches your main color that you want to use, and your wide-eyed tapestry needle, and we'll begin. All right, in order to get to a good point for sewing, I had to turn my right side all the way around to where I can start at my top point, which is at the bottom of my screen now, and work my way around that's comfortable for me. So I'm right-handed. I'm going to be working right to left, but the left-handed video is flipped, and you'll see it in the opposite direction. I've got a scrap yarn. I'm going to show you how to do the first few stitches so you can really see it. Mine, of course, is going to match this darker plum color. Pull out about 5 yards of whatever you're going to be using, and that's going to be your scrap yarn for working with your sewing. All right, so here's my little scrap piece, and for my hexagon, I'm going to start in this corner here. You can see where the point comes clearly out, so I'm going to follow my stitches along to find that very outside edge, and we're going to be working with the V-shaped stitches on the top. Whether you're doing knit or crochet, you're going to have, or you should have, 2 stitches coming out like that, and we're going to go through that. So from the top of the hexagon to the back, pull through and get a tail, and then you're coming from the back of the wrong side of your fabric of your hexagon that's on the back, and we're going to find that stitch there. So I'm going to find that point where it lines up, and it's this stitch here. All I have to do is turn it over and see where it is on my sample. You'll be able to see better on your own sample where that is. I'm going to pull through, and that stitch is going to end up being nice and tight. Right now you can't really pull it tight. We're going to come over as a whip stitch, so we're going to come around to the other side and go to the very next stitch. You can see that V-shaped stitch here, and then kind of twist up your hexagon. If it's curling on you, that's fine. Go to the very next stitch and come through. So you're always coming from the top side of this fabric down through both of them, and then to the outside here, the right side on either side, either the front or the back. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to do a whip stitch. So we're having our yarn go around the outside, go through the next stitch, and go through the next stitch. And once you have several in here, it's going to be really apparent which stitches you are to go through. So you're going to go through all of these until you get to the next point, and then you're going to move all the way around. So we're going to go all the way around that perimeter, follow your diagram. And once you get one or two of these down, you might want to go ahead and start tightening your stitches because they're not going to be this loose as this one is here. That's way too loose. I'm just not doing it because I want you to see this color here. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this part out and put in my yarn, and pause your video, and I'll meet you and I'll show you where a couple of these parts are where you're going to tighten that yarn. Okay, work on yours. I'll see you in a moment. So I've worked through just this first flat straight area, and I've tightened it up so it looks like this. Kind of has a little bit of kind of a roped look to it, but the color all matches. All right, so I had pinned this where the next point comes, so I can take that off, or done the stitch marker, and just go in the next piece and continue on just exactly as you had before. If your strands are too long, you can double up on that tail on there, because it's a lot of yarn, but it's a whole lot better than adding to it as you go along. All right, continue working. Pause your video, and I will meet you back up when you get to this point where we're looking at the folded part of hexagon 8 and 2. All right, see you there. I just wanted you to see what this looks like stitched together. So this part is nice and flat now, and you can see where I'm starting to stitch here. And actually in this corner I went through twice, so I just wanted to reinforce this little corner twice. Right now these parts are not connected. The fronts and the backs aren't connected to each other, so reinforcing in the corner is a nice idea. And when I get over here, I'm going to reinforce in this corner right where these all these come together nicely. All right, continue going. All right, we are on hexagon 8 and the folded hexagon 2. We're going to work our way up from here. We've been doing the perimeter, and see, this is what my perimeter looks like. Yours should look similar. It's nice and flat, and these all are going to flatten once we sew them together. Now we're going to connect 8 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and take off my stitch marker, and we're no longer sewing through the front and back hexagons, so stop sewing through the back ones, and we're only going to go through the front. So let's see, I've just done this corner one and on this side, and let's go ahead and go through this one here and try to find the corner. There we go. And I'm going to go through this one twice just to make sure we got a nice corner tied. Just to give it a little more strength. Okay, I've already tightened up everything else. And then we're still doing the same thing that we've done before. It's still going to work the same. It'll be a nice flat seam. I'm going through the top part of this hexagon, the number 8, through the back side of number 2, the very next stitch, both of them, and pulling through, and it comes up on the top on number 2, and then go across over to 8. We're going through the next one, and don't pull it so tight if you aren't sure, like, oh, you know, where did I come from? Let's see, I went through this one here, and so I want to go through the next set of stitches here and here, and I'll even pull through a few like this and leave them loose, or at least my very last one loose, so that I can really tell where they are, and then I can tighten up the stitches. So I apologize, it's a little darker on your screen, but basically I can go through and pull on a few of the last stitches and leave the previous one loose, so that I can see where to go. and pull all that through. There we go. So I'm going to pull one tighter and then leave that one loose and then go through the next one. So again, we're just going on the top here and working our way to the next intersection where there's 3 together. So we should have number 3. So we've got 2 and 8 and going towards 3. So we're going to go for this intersection and then go up to the next one with 3 and then work our way over here. And when we get to here, we'll continue the perimeter or the outside of the bag and go up and around. And I'll pause your video and I'll meet you at this point just to remind you where the stopping place is. We'll see you in a moment. All right, so I have finished stitching together the fold at number 2, and so we want to join 1 and 15 together, so the front and the back together at hexagon number 2. So just go ahead and continue on. You know, and sometimes I'll double up in that corner there and make sure that I have got all my stitches aligned. So if you have to adjust and go through a stitch twice to make sure that everything is lined up perfectly, you can always do that, like go through one and then shift over. If your stitch count has gotten off a little bit, that's okay. I definitely want to, I think I want to go through this one again just for good measure. Okay, I was just connecting again to number 2. All right, so go through one of these stitches and the next one and continue with the whip stitch around the outside perimeter of our bag. And go ahead and pause and grab another stitch marker. We've got point 1, 2, 3 over here. So this third one here, go ahead and put a stitch marker there, and we're going to work to that point and then stop and leave a tail. We're going to cut that. So I've got 1, 2, 3 of these straight flat edges to that third point over there. So continue on, pause your video. I'll meet you at that point and we'll be finished with our step 2 part of the video. So I'm at the end here. I'm just going to leave one more loop. I went back through this corner again, and then I'm leaving that loop, and I'm going to go through it, and then that way I fasten it off, and then I'm just going to cut a nice long tail, and we can weave that tail in now, or you can weave it in later. I'm just going to leave it alone for now. Come back to this first side over here, and you can get a tapestry needle and finish it off the same way. Go back through that original loop and go through this loop here and pull through and tighten. Okay, and so that is going to be nice to fasten off later, so it's not going to go anywhere and won't pull through. And we're going to turn this around and get all my stuff out of the way. And we're going to begin on step 3. And we're going to start kind of in an odd spot. We're going to start right where 2 and 3 and 8 come together. So we're going to begin here. So I'm going to pull about 2.5 yards of my yarn here and go through my tapestry needle. I'm going to turn it around so I can see it better and which direction I'm going. So actually, let me show you which direction before I go. Okay, so we're going to follow the diagram, and we're going to go from this point here down to where 8 and 7 and 3 come together. And then we're going to go down again. So we're going to go over and down, and then we're going to flip it over and continue seaming on the back. So this is the front side, and then we'll go over to the back. So let's turn it so where we can start sewing it together. And just go through one of those points where it was connected before and leave a nice tail for sewing, weaving in later. And then continue on in your whip stitch to join and go all the way to where those 3 corners are there. All right. So continue going and pause your video, and I'll meet you when we take it and turn over to the other side. See you in a moment. When I got down to the end here, my working yarn was coming out right here. So I just pierced and went down through another stitch where I had gone. So now we're just going to take it and flip it over. Okay. And My yarn's coming out here, and I'm going to continue stitching on up, or sewing on up. And the numbers that we're looking at now, this is 9, 10, 11 on this bottom row, and then the next row up is still the same 2 that we had, but we have 12, 13, 14, and then we have 15 at the top. So we're going to be going from 9 and 10 right here, and then going over towards 2 again. There's 12 here, going up alongside 2, and then we're going to move over to this 15 up here, go all the way up, and then it'll complete going around on this side back here, and then this is where we will stop. Okay, and then we'll have a tail at this point. So go ahead and work your way on up, kind of zigzag over, and I'll meet you at the end there. Okay, so we'll finish up here and make that final loop and then snip it off. I said this part would be finished. It's not. We'll close this part later, but it's not closed just yet at the end of 2 over here. So when you're finishing this one, just go down through another stitch, and you can do a whip stitch around one more kind of near there, and go through that loop again to close it off, and then go ahead and cut your tail. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and weave in a few stitches here. You can just go ahead and weave this in. So just go through a few of these stitches, and you can even throw your tail on the inside if you want to put your long tail on the inside, and then you can cut that off. So let me pull my needle off. So I've got this long tail here, and when I'm ready to sew in, weave in my stitches, you can just go ahead and throw this one on the inside, and then that way you're not, you can stitch into this garter stitch in here, or the back of the purl stitches. Okay, all right, so we're going to start on the next step. So remaining on this back side here, we're going to start at 12 and 13 right here, and we're going to work our way down. So before we did kind of a zigzag like this, we're going to do the same kind of zigzag here. So we're going to go down 12 and 13 to 10, and then go over to 11, and then down, and then we're going to flip that over to the front side to continue. I've got about 1.5 yards here. Hopefully that's enough. And we're going to go ahead and start up here. So just turn it around, and we're just working with the fronts only, and go through 12 and 13 just with the front hexagons only. So taking off your stitch marker, going through those corners carefully. Oop, gotta leave a tail, Kristen. Leave that tail and go through that corner. All right, so continue on your stitching. Pause your video and when you flip to the other side, and I'll show you the next area. All right, so we've ended here at 11 and 10. I'm kind of doing it backwards here, and then we're going to flip it. And now we are at 7, between 7 and 6, and then we're going to work our way up between those two, and then go towards 4 and 3 here. So this is 4 and this is 3. So we're going to work up, over at 4, and then we're going to go up at 3, and we're going to end at the top up here, and that'll be the ending of that one. So go ahead and continue stitching along. Pause your video, and I'll meet you back up when we get to the ending there for the next step. See you in a moment. All right, so I finished up here and cut my tail off, and now I've got another about 1.5 yards here, and we're going to go ahead and go over to this square here. We've got a number 5, and on the back it's number 14. So it is loose here, so we want to start at the top, and we're going to go down and kind of follow around this number 5 stitch. So we're going down around 5 here on the top, down here, and then we're going to flip to the other side and go up and then up again. So we're just basically going around this last hexagon here. So go ahead and turn yours around and begin stitching this part together. All right, pause video and I'll show you the next step. This was step 5. See you in a moment. I went ahead and paused a little longer and cut off all the tails so it wasn't so confusing to look at. So now this is very clean looking. We are looking at the back side, and we have 3 openings here. We've got 1, 2, 3. And what I'm going to do is start here, which is where like 11, 14, and 13 come together. And I'm going to whip stitch around here. And then I'm just going to kind of run it down through where the whip stitch is, but not go back over it again. I mean, if you can, you want to. If you want to, you can. You could run it down here and then start picking up and whip stitching again, right where 10 and 12 and 13 come together. And then kind of just run it through underneath these stitches just straight, and then go ahead and whip stitch these together, which is where 9 and 12 and 2 are. So that'll take care of this side. Okay, so that is where we're going to be now for step 6, and we're finishing this side. And then we've also got this area up here that's open, and so you're just going to need to stitch just this spot here, weave in your tails, and then you're going to flip over. I don't think I need to show you the rest of this here, but you're going to flip over, and on the front side we have 2 of these parts here. So you're going to do what you did on the back and just kind of start and put these 2 together where 3 and 7 come together, and then kind of just go straight through the middle here where this whip stitch is, and then pick up and whip stitch right here where 4 and 6 are together. And then the only other part that needs to be stitched together is this area here where number 1 and number 3 are, and then you stitch those together. And then there's an optional step 7, and I just want to show this to you, and I will do this on the next step that you'll see, is what we can do is make this area here a pocket. So eventually our straps are going to hook up here, and they're going to clip together. And if you have a D-ring, you can actually put that ring that's this in this package here. Let me get one. You can actually sew one of these rings here, which I would recommend just going ahead and sewing this in and stitching it in with the matching color, and then clipping in your strap. Okay, so that's what you'll do. And then once you do that, you are done. Or you can add in this part here, and then you'll have an opening, and you can put in probably a small phone, maybe a large, I don't know, but your keys or little small incidentals into this little pocket, and then this other area will remain open. Now, if you crochet, you could crochet a nice open edge, or you can do a whip stitch. I put like a little bitty whip stitch on here. It doesn't keep it from rolling so much, but this hasn't been blocked, so you could still block this or put an edge, or you can line it. So that's what this will look like. So go ahead and keep stitching in those areas. We'll come back and I'll stitch in the pocket, and we'll put in the D-ring. All right. All right, so we're at the top here. I've got it, of course, flipped upside down. This is number 15 and 1. So if you want to make a pocket at this very top part, you can do so by stitching together the bottom of those 2 together through the front and the back. So you're just going to simply go through a corner here, pull through, and get a tail, and just come up and down through here. You can even go back. So if you've gone up this one stitch here, you can go back through where you had that tail come out before, and do a back stitch to make it a nice strong connection. And then when you come up through the bottom, skip over where you had come out before. So 1 stitch down, and then go down back through that stitch again. And what it does is it creates a double stitch there, so that you have a nice strong connection if you had something heavy in that pocket. If it's something lightweight, it doesn't matter as much, but nothing's going to come through if you do a back stitch. So if you've got something small, like keys or something, it might be nice to create a nice thicker stitch here with the back stitch, and I'm just going along this edge of the green here, so it makes my pocket just a little bit bigger on the inside, so it goes down to this part instead of right here. That's completely up to you, but just go ahead and continue sewing on until you get to the end there and weave in all of your tails. And let's just jump over to this D-ring here. I want to show you what it's supposed to look like. So I went ahead and stitched one in at the top here where this opening is, and I just took one of those little rings and trying to find my other one. Oh, it's in my hand. So you're just going to take one of these, it's called a D-ring because it's shaped like a D. And yeah, so you're just going to take it and put it at the very top where you want your bag to connect. I would just put it at the very top part here, and take your matching yarn and simply sew that in. Go right to the very top. And pull and get a nice long tail, and then go down and through your D-ring and connect. And I connected it kind of weird, but it doesn't really matter. We're just going to be doing a whip stitch around here. Let me do it like this. It's just easier for me to approach. It doesn't have to be perfect because no one's going to see that part once you get it in. So I just really need to secure one end, and then I'm just going to continue going down and around, up and through the middle of this D-ring, and go ahead and stitch it to where it's all covered. This bottom part is covered with your yarn, that flat side of the D, like that. And maybe one more for good measure. And I'm going to go through that hole there and kind of knot it off, tie it secure, and then we just need to weave in these tails. And so you're going to go down to the bottom underneath, and then you can weave in the tail back there and catch this one and weave this tail in to the back, and then attach your handle. Let's just show you that, your handle or your strap. And then you've got your strap. All right, so I'm going to show you what this one looks like all put together. And there is our bag. I'm going to show you what this looks like on the mannequin. I just wanted to show it to you right here, and then you can flip it on either side. Here's my pocket where I can put things, and of course you could add a liner if you want to. Choose to wear this flat part kind of in the back underneath your arm, or flip it over so you have access to that pocket a little easier. Just depends on how you want to wear it.
Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.